Welcome to the Sugi Makes Friends podcast. I'm Allison Sugahara, aka Sugi. I'm a business owner, a content creator, a community builder and connector, and I like making friends. Today's guest is Camille Oneto. A few disclaimers before I start this episode. Camille is actually a friend of mine already, but she's such a cool person, and I really, really wanted to have her as a guest. If anything, it was a great excuse for us to catch up. Second disclaimer, I fucked up the audio. I basically did not connect my mic, so everything you pick up just sounds like I'm in a big echoey room. It's fucking great. And then lastly, you might hear some dogs barking. Camille was at her house and the dogs were kind of going wild. So yeah, just bear with me. The audio is not the best, but the conversation was awesome. So Camille and I actually worked together at a local restaurant in Los Gatos. We became friends, and then she actually ended up introducing me to her mom, who became somewhat of a mentor for me, like a business mentor. Camille is adventurous AF. Okay, so like if you're interested in anything outdoorsy, I'm talking hiking, foraging, fighting fucking forest fires, you name it, Camille is your woman. She's also been getting into herbalism and homesteading, and it's been really cool to follow along with what she's doing. So I highly recommend following her if that's something you're interested in. I hope you enjoy meeting my friend, Camille Oneto.
So during the off season from fire, you have your winter off basically. So you're like free to do it because you get laid off for the season.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that makes sense.
typically, we like most folks just travel around and like bum it in some way, shape, or form. We call it dirt bagging. And so my fiance now,
Congratulations.
Yeah, holy shit, right? We traveled around in the winter, so we were living out of his truck. He had a build out in his truck. I have built a build out in my truck. Plus, I have the rooftop tent. So we just traveled around doing that for a while. Then came back, got new jobs, and bought a camper. And we were renovating that, living in that for a while. So a very small space. And then we were like, well, let's try and buy a house. So then we did Airbnbs, like in between trying to buy a house. So I didn't have a lot of stability, like housing wise.
Yeah.
And even when I was in a place, it was very small.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the ability to like really lay down some roots and kind of delve into like what I'm doing now. Like I didn't know where I was going to be able to build a chicken coop. I don't know, just like as the things that I've done over time, I've, like you said, like have really delved into it, and I feel like shifted in a certain way to really like put my foot in it rather than being like, that would be cool if I had the space to do it. It's just being able to like actually be in one place and not have to worry about moving things around. And I think that's really what's been like the big transition for me to be able to do this stuff. And it's great. Like it's something that brings me joy, which can be hard to find, like with everything. And
completely. Oh my God. I was going to ask you how you were feeling, but there's like a billion things. My brain is going like a million miles a minute because even just your journey itself, I have a million questions because like, I know you worked in national parks and then you worked in fire, and I'm like genuinely curious about all of that. But then I just want to take a moment to like reflect on, you've always kind of been a nomad, but like whatever you're doing now and being able to build your own home in the way that you want to, in this like sustainable way, like it's so amazing to watch. Like I'm so happy for you because I know how like not even difficult, like because that's difficult to constantly be changing, because yes, like you were going through that, but like you've always chosen the path of adversity, and like you've always been also dealt like that hand as well. And I feel like to see you settled and happy with like your fiance and in a home that you own and taking pride in, like I'm proud with you. Like I'm so fucking happy for you.
Thanks,
It's like really cool to like just watch you have gone through this entire journey from being like this backpacking nomad, like living out of cars. I remember when you, and this didn't even have to do with housing, when you biked from like Northern California all the way to Southern California. You're just like
Yeah.
always on the move. So it's fun to watch you settled while still like sticking to that kind of like the
Yeah,
core of who you are.
totally. I think that, I mean, there's even days, or if I don't go outside for a certain amount of time, like for if I don't go out on the trail in like 5 days or 3 days, sometimes I'll just be like, I have to get out. Like it is fundamentally a part of me that if I don't have that, like things are gonna go downhill. And I know that. Um and yeah, I think really where that stems from, I mean, like I grew up going outdoors and doing stuff outside. But really like after my dad's passing, was I like went full into it because I just I knew there was a lot of directions I could go that weren't going to be positive, and I knew that he would be fucking pissed if I like did anything but try and keep going. And you know, I did try a lot of things. Like I tried painting and art, but like I'm kind of a shit painter. Like so I just kind of went back to my roots, which I don't think I even did consciously. It's actually funny that I started working at state parks because I found a job listing on Craigslist, and I
Oh
was
my
like,
God, no way.
yeah, I was like, you know what? Yeah, like this is gonna be because I've always wanted to get closer to the mountains, and I was like, I'm just gonna do this, and that's really what started it all. But like, I mean, backpacking, being outside is really the only, I mean, and to this day, the only time that I can like like be okay
Yeah.
and not worry about anything else. And it's also the only place that I feel like I can like truly connect with my dad still. So that's I guess I mean it all ties together, right? Like that's
Yeah,
why that
totally.
is so important to me. And like you said, kind of choosing the the path of most resistance has been something that I don't know that I've exactly seeked it out, but I guess part of me did. I like a challenge, but it's a challenge that I choose rather
Yeah, it
than
like brought you joy. The challenge of it brought
totally.
you genuine joy. Like I would only see you in stints, like, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
home for X amount of time. Like, cool,
Mhm.
let's grab a beer and talk about it.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to, so you probably learned a lot doing state parks. How long were you in that? And then what then motivated you to get into fighting fires?
So I was with state parks for almost 3 years. I was a park aide, so I mean, roughly it's like a ranger without a badge. Like
Okay.
you're enforcing stuff more or less, but also talking to the public for positive things. Like it's not all just like a part of that though. It did become kind of a little bit too enforcy for me.
Mm,
I felt like I didn't like telling people, you know, I mean, unless they were doing something really stupid. I didn't want to always be the person who was like, oh, don't do that, or like, oh, we can't do, you know what I mean? That kind of just
totally.
sucks the fun out of it. And then also like working for a government agency has got its pros and cons, and I just kind of was sick of it in that way. But all the people I worked with were really, really amazing, and like shout out to them. They were cool. And then let's see what actually did. Oh, so I was volunteering with a disaster response organization called Team
Okay.
Rubicon, and I did a couple responses with them. And then they were putting on some classes to get you certified for your red card, which is what gets you certified to fight fire.
Mm.
And so I took that, and it was a couple days. I did it with some friends, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And then
Your
I
mom was so stoked about it.
Oh my God. To this day, she's like, I'm so glad you don't do that anymore. I'm like, I wish I was, but yeah, I get it. um, yeah, then I went on a fire, and then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep doing this. And then funny, like, well, it's not funny, it's just a little anecdote, but I was trying to get on. I missed the cutoff for like hiring when went on my first role, which is a two
Mhm.
week stint. It's called a role when you go out on a fire, and then you get your time off after that 2 weeks. But
Okay.
I was trying to get on an actual crew, and I had missed the hiring season, but I was like still trying my damnedest. I was like emailing people and whatnot. And the person I was dating at the time basically told me that I should give up. And we were not dating very shortly after that instance. But I was like, well, fuck you. Now I'm really gonna do it.
What was his reasoning for that?
His own insecurities. Most like,
Ugh.
yeah, it was one of those, but whatever. Doesn't deserve that much attention.
Hmm.
So then I got into it and kept going, and then came back to Region 5, which is California, and fought here. And I ended up leaving, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I ended up leaving federal fire because of, I don't know, like, I don't know if you know, or it's not super common knowledge, but like federal firefighters aren't paid shit at all. And
Mm.
like our benefits are trash. Like we work crazy hours. You don't have a summer. Like if you're working in an area that you don't live in, you're not seeing any friends or family for at least
Yeah.
6 months. Like there's a lot of upsides. I miss it a lot. If the pay was better and like the recognition, not the public recognition, but the government recognition and like support was
Yeah.
there, I would 100% still be in it. But yeah, it's a no go right now
Yeah. It
for
just
that.
wasn't
So
sustainable.
it's not
Man, like
sustainable.
how, like, were you specifically fighting wildfire fires? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't fuck with structure. I have no idea how to fight a house fire, nor do I
Okay.
want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Interesting.
completely different ballpark. Um, we did in Region 5 on engines, you do have to be able to respond to medicals and also car fires. So
Okay.
we did carry SCBAs and have full turnout, which I super hated, but it's a requirement in this region. So,
Yeah.
and I didn't actually respond to any car fires, so I never had to do that. But I think that would be the closest to like structure
Yeah.
firefighting. But yeah,
But
strictly wildfire.
could still see, I mean, especially in California and the Pacific Northwest, like you were probably so busy all the time. Like that is a
Yeah,
really tough, I can only imagine. Like I would see your pictures and I'm like, oh my, I can't even believe that you're out there like fighting fires. That's incredible.
yeah, and I wasn't even like there. I mean, there's people that did a whole lot more than what I did, so multiply that by however much. Um,
Yeah.
and it's I don't know. I had like once I decided to leave, I had a bit of an existential crisis for a while because it's like it becomes your life really, and like kind of the only thing, not the only thing you know, but you're just doing it so much for months straight that
Yeah.
once you're done, um, you're just like, what the hell? And then afterwards, I was like, well, who even am I if I'm not doing something outdoors? Which was a really weird transition to deal with, but I think I'm finally now accepting it. Because there's also no way I would be able to buy a house if I was on that wage.
Yeah. So
Like,
at what point did you transition? Because I just assumed this entire time that you were still doing that just because I have not talked to you in so long.
yeah.
So like at what point did you transition your career and what are you doing now?
So 2 seasons ago was when I left
Okay.
fire,
Okay.
which, yeah. Now I do OSHA analytics. It's like it's a
What is
computer job.
that?
It's a computer job. Like it's not. I mean, I'm super for like I'm happy that I have it. I work from home. It's awarded me a lot of freedom. My boss is really great. My coworkers are great. There's nothing negative about it other than the fact that I don't get to play with fire, like, and get paid.
Yeah.
Like it's cool, but yeah, that's what I do now. I I
Damn, that is
I'm
such a hardcore transition.
Yeah, yeah, dude. My boss, when I first got hired, he was like, "So, what did you used to do?" And I told him, he was like, "Huh." And you're sitting at a computer now, and I was like, "Yeah." Like you're gonna have to bear with me here. Like I don't. I also have like ADHD. Like it's tough for me to. That's why I think that's part of the reason too. I've always gravitated towards manual and physical jobs, is because I was like able to move all the time and not worry about the fact that I couldn't focus like on
Yeah,
something
yeah.
in front of me. Um, yeah, so that's what I do now. It's fine. It pays the
It's
bills.
fine.
Yeah, shit, I miss fire. I miss it. I mean, like, I see people like posting, and there's also the last 2 years, there's been a giant exodus of folks leaving fire for the reasons that I mentioned. So
Yeah.
we're also in a really weird situation in California where we can't hire people. So it's like, who's gonna fight the fire? Like,
Yeah. It
that's
seems
gonna
like
be a
there's
scary.
a lot
Okay.
of professions like that too. Like the teaching industry is
Oh my
hurting.
gosh.
Like there's, and then like the service industry, which you and I, that's where we met, you know, I feel like it's
Yeah.
been, everybody's just collectively over it. Like,
Yeah, because like we should be.
exactly. And that's the
Yeah.
thing is like, all the boomers are like, nobody wants to work anymore. And it's like, no shit. Like, what do we
Because we
get
want
from
more.
this? Yeah. Like, it's not, we don't even have like livable wages. Like, we don't have, like, there's just so much shit all the fucking time that like what's the motivation to work, you know?
Yeah. Or it's like it I think one if you could find a positive out of it is the fact that people, I mean you for instance, like create their own jobs and create their own businesses and like it's fuel to find a passion and like put your eggs in that basket. But overall, yeah, no, it's fucked up. It's super
Yeah.
super not
And I
okay.
luckily like I learned early that I didn't want to work in corporate America, but like that whole journey to get to where I am, like it's not accessible by any
No.
means, you know, like
Yeah.
that's something that motivates me a lot is like figuring out how to help other people have access to tools and resources that would allow them to create the lifestyle that I live. But it took however many years, you know, to for me to get to this point. You've
Yeah.
watched me through
Yeah.
the whole thing. Like you were one
Mhm.
of my first clients, and then your mom was like one of my first clients.
Yeah,
It was
no,
like
totally.
community, all community based. And you and I know too, because we also grew up in these like affluent white communities without having as much access to like finances, you know,
Yeah.
like your mom has been busting her ass forever as a small business owner for
My
over
whole
30
life.
years. Like, yeah, your whole, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, she's been in the business forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, she was a huge mentor for me when I was getting into business. And now the game has completely changed. And then I became like a mentor for her for social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, like being in this space, I'm realizing even in what I do, like I love what I do, but I don't want to work all the time either, you know, like
Totally. Yeah.
because we're all fucking tired. Like we're all sick of it and we're all emotional all the time because there's just shit happening everywhere.
Just like completely bombarded constantly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
it's never ending. It's hard to I find it difficult to not separate it, but to balance it I guess, you know, and trying to like stay positive and, find joy in things and be good, but also being like that doesn't feel right at the same time, to
Yeah,
be
and what can we do, right? Like feeling helpless too. Like I was talking to one of my last podcast guests actually. We were talking about having to hold space for both grief and joy because there's so much like joy that is transpiring in like my life and clearly your life as well. And like this overwhelming sense of gratitude. But then on the flip side, like the whole other side of the coin is like grief and overwhelm and anxiety just from living where we live and
yeah,
being people of color in the United States or even just women and or fucking just living here in
all of those
general. Like
things.
it's been
Yeah,
it
yeah,
I think we're all in that boat, but it's like how do we hold space for both, right? Like
yeah. Well, it's because it's like you don't want to be an ostrich, right? You don't want to stick your head in the sand and like pretend like things aren't happening. At the same time, there's a point where we have to, for our well-being, take a moment of respite from it. But and everyone's different, and we view things very similarly, which is we absorb it, right? And like we I mean, and also the fact that it literally physically, personally affects us, like
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
women and people of color, that like you can't not think about certain things. Like they're always
Completely.
gonna be there, and I don't know. It's just fucking tough. Like it's hard being it's hard being a human is really what like how I surmise it, which is not eloquent at all, but I think it encompasses like what it is. Like it's just fucking hard, and
Oh my God, seriously.
yeah,
I'm just always like, what can I, like, it kind of like to your point, a few points back, like, we can't just be an ostrich and like put our head in the sand and just not be in the know, or just, it's like beneficial to just know what's going on, you know,
yeah,
and then understanding what your boundaries are within that. But at the same time, like, not, it's like hard because we feel so overwhelmed, like, and helpless. Like, what can we do? What do we do? But then there's this other side of like, what brings me joy, and like, how can I, maybe like that is the answer, right? Like me showing up, like you being a homesteader and like being more sustainable in your lifestyle is like inspiring other people to be more sustainable in their lifestyles. Like, when Derek and I are fortunate enough at one point to be able to own a home, I think about like planting a garden and composting. And now I have a resource for all of those things, like,
yeah,
because that's what you've been doing. And like, for me, from a business standpoint, I'm a capitalist, but like, I want to be more of an ethical capitalist, right? Like, because by nature, like, I'm a business owner. I am contributing to capitalism, but like, I care more about helping other people, like us investing our dollars in each other, you know, and other
yeah,
small business owners that want to thrive, not like these big corporations. Like, to
right,
me, there's so much more in like the space that I'm providing, by not realizing that like we are, by showing up passionately and what we're doing,
yeah. It's kind of like
contributing in some way.
I view it as like flipping the script, on like
Yeah.
capital, in your instance, like capitalism, like flipping it and being like, well, there's a different way to do this.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to abide by the way that things are set, which we shouldn't, because most of the way that things are set are really fucked up and wrong. So
Completely.
like, yeah, making an effort. I mean, and that's a good point. Like that just made me think about the small stuff, like doing, you know, think about what you can do, and something as small as making a compost, like something as small as reusing your glass jars, like
Yeah.
doing something small that is helping benefit even in the slightest bit, because it also makes you feel better, if you know that you're contributing to trying to make a difference in the health of, I don't know, the planet, or society, whatever.
Yeah.
That also made me think about too, like, as providing resources, a large part of why I actually started sharing the stuff that I'm sharing right now is because like I got really cool feedback from people. People are like, "Oh, you inspired me to do this," or like, "I've gotten a couple people to make compost bins," and that's fucking rad. Like I'm not doing it because I'm not doing it for the likes. I'm doing it because I like it. Like I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make anything of it. It's just like people are enjoying it, and that is a small bit of joy that I can share. And on the girls' Instagram page, which is, I don't even know how that happened, but I had someone message me the other day, and she was like, "Oh, I'm in college and I have a cattle dog. I couldn't bring her with me, so your page is like really helping me get through missing her." And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Like that's exactly what this is for. Like
Yeah.
it's just to make people happy, and I don't know, like inspire people and give them maybe a moment of like rest in their brain to where they're not thinking
Yeah.
about something that sucks. So that's,
Completely. It's
yeah,
so interesting because I feel like that, obviously, when social media was created, to me, that's what it was intended for, right? It's a tool for connection and being able to like share and like hopefully inspire, but like, you're utilizing it not just as a tool for like connection. It's really a space, like an outlet of joy for you, which
yeah,
is like amazing because in turn, it's inspiring other people. And that's like what I enjoy about social media now too, is it's an outlet for me to be creative. And
yeah,
like, I'll get messages too, and people will be like, "Oh my God, you make me feel comfortable about showing up this or whatever." And it's like fun that we get to like do what brings us joy, share
Yeah,
about it, and then in turn it's like a ripple effect, you know?
totally. And that's really what, like, I don't know. That's what grows a community. It's not like making something because you're trying to get people to see it, or like
Totally. Oh my
because
God.
you know what I mean. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
what sends it is just doing something that you're like, I don't know, I fucking like it. Maybe somebody else will. If they don't, that's cool too. But I like it. And then like people usually like those things because you're just being
Yeah.
authentic.
Yep.
You're
It's
just
like
like being yourself.
honest. Yeah. Genuine. That's it's so funny because like you probably do not get like we all live in our own vortexes, right? On the internet. And like I think a lot of what comes through my feed would be triggering because I live in this like business owner world where
Yeah.
everybody is trying to do exactly what you're saying. Like they want to know the hacks and the secrets to get people to like listen to what they have to say. And it's like, you guys have it ass backwards. Like just
Flip
be
flop it.
yourself and then
Yeah.
right like then you connect like you do the fun stuff and be like yourself first and then after that like you connect with the people. You don't force them to connect with you because you want to have clout. I don't know like but I think it's
It's
all changing.
it's very inauthentic. I can't say, I mean, like most of the stuff that comes across my feed now is like plants and like dogs. So I think Instagram has kind of picked up. I don't know how it works. I don't know how any of it works. I know you know. I don't know. So to me, it's all a big mystery. I'm like, I don't care. Like, show me noodles, show me raccoons and some trees, and then that's good. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird seeing like, I mean, TikTok. That whole like the dancing, like this just the dancing reels, like specifically. I'm just like, I don't. I mean, whatever, but I don't. It's
It's
not like
not that's
providing
not
me
what it's about.
anything.
Yeah, TikTok is so different actually from what it's perceived as.
I don't even. Yeah, I don't actually know anything about it. If I'm being
I
fully
feel
honest.
like if you were to post what you've been posting on your Instagram, you would actually probably blow up on TikTok because there's a whole population of people that just want to connect with people. Like TikTok actually is a catalyst for so many pieces of my creativity. It's so funny because it's like a fucking app, right? But like it reignited a lot of my creativity and is
Huh.
probably indirectly like the reason why I started this podcast because I met cool ass people on fucking TikTok. I was so over Instagram. Like the only connections I wanted to maintain were people like you, like people that get it, the ones that
Yeah.
cultivate community or connect with their community in the same way. And I was feeling such a lack of community, like,
Yeah.
especially, oh my God, like you and I haven't talked in a while, but like post George Floyd, like
Mhm.
reignition of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I felt so fucking alone in the town of Los Gatos, like I was so fed up and frustrated because I just felt like I had been shouting into the void for however long. And then this big blow up happens and then still white people are centering themselves in the conversation.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have a fucking community. Like as much as it feels like on the outside or on paper that I do, like nobody here fucking understands me and I'm so alone. Like
Yeah.
so being on TikTok of all places, I was able to connect with other people and like be exposed to so many other creators of color, like so many BIPOC creators. It's not even funny over there that I'm being exposed to on a regular basis.
That's
So
awesome.
it completely opened up my world. This is so funny. I wasn't even trying to plug TikTok, but like it just like the being able to have exposure to that, I didn't realize it like unlocked a key in my mind of like, oh my God, I've been in need of this. And I wasn't even aware how much I needed this sense of
Well, now I
community and
think I might
camaraderie.
make a TikTok. Like, I mean, yeah, because that's like what Instagram was like supposed to be, right? But it's clearly not. And like on that point, one of the things that I've with plant medicine, to me, and I've been trying to explore different teachings and schools and instructors that I want to learn from. And you can't be technically a certified herbalist because there's no governing agency in this country that will certify you. It's just not like regulated
Mhm.
like that at this moment.
Got it.
But you can still, put in your time and be acknowledged as one, and in that. So I've been, trying to search around, see who I want to take classes from. And I'm having such a difficult time finding somebody who is not white as an instructor. And to me, I mean, being a Mexican woman, that's really important to me. Like, I want to be learning those teachings from someone who has a connection. And not to say that other people don't have a connection, because I don't know specifically everybody's past, in their life and what they've done to be where they are. But that's something that I feel like is really important to me. And it's so fucking hard to find someone. And I'm just like, why? Like, why is that so difficult? Which is, why we're here also, is like representation that we can't find anywhere else. Yep. But it's just like, and even, I mean, looking back, the majority of things I've done in life have been in, predominantly white environments. I mean, like outdoors, and there's been a big change, or a big push to be a change with outdoors and being inclusive, but like it hasn't been. Yeah, it just hasn't been. And that's like, I'm more or less white passing, so I do have a different interaction at times, I guess, and I acknowledge that, because if I'm, say, outdoors, like, I'm not going to worry to the same extent that someone else might worry about being out there, say, by themselves or even with a group. Like, it's just different. And but although I might be passing, it's also like not being able to fully like open up that part of me with the people that I'm with, because like you said, like, people are going to be supportive of you and they're going to maybe be open to speaking. But when it comes down to it, like, is the other person I'm with, like, can I shoot the shit with you about, like, I don't know, like mercados that we've been to in San Jose or shit like that, like, or something random that is part of your culture that your family does, that you've grown up doing, that someone in your similar culture has done. It's just, it's a bummer at times when you're just like, well, like, I love these people that I'm with, but I know that there's, to a certain extent, you're never gonna fully grasp what I might be feeling in this moment, or what I even want to talk about, or like relate this situation to.
Yeah. Because like, it doesn't always have to be about, like, it's not like we're trying to talk about race all the time. It's just like having a space where you kind of nailed it. Like, almost having a safe space to reveal this part of yourself. And like, for me, in white spaces versus non-white spaces, drastically different. And I'm sure, like, and that's where I'm seeing this issue is like, okay, we can like talk about the blatant racism all day, but like, in this underline, like, of just crossing one bridge to another, such a basic thing. Cause I know my white friends care about me, it's not about that. It's like, no, there's just this lack of feeling seen and heard. I don't necessarily need to be understood, but like, I do want to be seen. Like,
I guess it is kind of an understanding, but I think more importantly for our other friends is that the understanding of not understanding. Like, not trying to be like, not trying to make sense of it in being able to relate it to themselves, because you can't. Like, that's really, I think, something that makes that matters to me, is when someone's like, I understand that I don't understand this, and I'm acknowledging that, and that's what that is, right? And like, that's acceptable. That's, I think, more useful than being like, oh, but like, trying to make the situation make sense to them, like, because it can't.
I totally agree with that. And completely.
One instance that comes to mind for me is like, I was in one of my travels, I don't know, out of my truck one time, camping up North Coast somewhere, I think, walked into this town in the middle of nowhere, it was this little like hot dog joint, I don't know, and everybody turned and stared at me, and it was a very uncomfortable situation because I was by myself, and like, I don't know, you can imagine that there's other reasons people are turning and staring at you, but like, whether, I mean, I don't know, still a woman. Like it was just a situation that somebody else wouldn't truly be able to understand and understand that uncomfortable feeling, because there's people that can walk into a lot of different mainstream, environments, and nobody's going to pay any mind. But, we walk into certain places and people are going to pay attention, and it's like we don't know exactly what they're thinking, but
Yeah,
we've had enough experiences, and there's enough things in this world that tell us that
completely.
maybe for certain reasons, and that's just like not a good feeling. And if you don't get that, if you've never felt that, then you're not gonna get it, you
Yeah.
know? And
And then like
yeah,
it's hard too when you're also like explaining that and then people don't believe you either, but you're like, "No, I swear I'm not like just making this shit
yeah,
up in my head. Like I've
right,
lived this experience, right?"
yeah,
It's like there was an instance when I was walking in LG like from my old apartment to Safeway just to get like chicken tenders or something. And it was
Tendy,
midnight. Like I mean it was late at night. Maybe not midnight. It was like 8 no, sorry, 8, like 10 p.m. Like it was late at night. Not super, super late, not super early, whatever. And I'm walking down the street. I'm wearing a hoodie because it was kind of like dark and it's super pitch black outside. And I walk by this dude, this older gentleman. And right as I walk past him, he says fucking N-word to me. And like, I was like so taken aback. It was really weird. It was loaded with like hatred that it made me feel so like it was palpable. Like I felt very uncomfortable. I felt unsafe. I felt really fucking weird. And then when I told some of my white friends about it, they thought it was funny. Like they were laughing. They're like, "Oh my God, but like you're not black." And I'm like, "I'm aware of that." But like it
missing the
still
fucking
made me
point,
feel
bud.
right. I'm like, it's not funny. It's like fucking scary. Like, what the fuck are you? He could have been even like, he could have been really crazy and like attacked me or something, you know? And like,
Yeah,
and this was like pre all of the Asian hate that's been going on. This was pre pandemic and everything, you know? It's like, so to even be able to express how I'm feeling, but then not have the same reaction that I would have like generated back to me, that made me like, again, am I like, am I missing something here? Like, am I the one that's like off my rocker? Like, no, what the fuck, you know?
yeah, it's maddening. That situation is maddening. Particular, I mean, all of it's bad. All of it's really, 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 really bad. And like having that response from, I'm blunt. Having that response from friends is like snip
Yeah.
snip. Like bye. Sorry. It's one thing to deal with that as that situation. It's another thing on the other side. It's like a shit sandwich to me.
Yeah.
Like not. And then where do you go? And then yeah, it's like
Completely.
if I'm getting this from both directions, what like then you force yourself to look inward, which is not right. It still needs to be outward because it's
Yeah.
it's the environment, it's the people, it's not you.
Completely. And it's those non subtleties and the subtleties that make us feel isolated and alone, or like that we're not in safe spaces. And that's the thing I want to crack for people is like, I just want to feel accepted and safe in these environments that like are with my peers, like
Yeah,
not with people I don't know. These are people I know, you know?
yeah, and it's. I mean, even just me thinking right now, it's like how. I mean, homesteading also is from what I've seen currently, in whatever outlets I'm using, predominantly white. Would be super cool to have a community of non-white homesteaders, um, just because you feel it's like a whole nother step to being a community when you can relate in that way. And but
Yeah.
it's like it's yeah, that's why we're doing these things. But it's also like it's gonna be such a process, because like whether it's activities that there's just simply no representation, or that like aren't really part of certain cultures yet, because
Hmm.
up until now it has been like, nope, sorry, you're not welcome here. So it's like
Yeah.
getting people excited about doing the things and hoping that you can, and you're doing a great job of it. Like I don't you're just doing it. For me, I'm kind of like
Thank
I
you.
hopefully like we come across some folks, but I don't know. Like
I feel like you're
I look
doing it too. And, you know, in our ways of just showing up and like finding our joy, that's what we're doing is like showing that there are other people that can infiltrate the space, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I'll probably send some TikToks to you after this, like,
Yeah.
even just to get on it. Like, that's not the solution, but what I'm saying is it got me closer to a community that I feel safe with, you know? So,
Yeah.
like, I think for us to continuously show up in that way and create the fucking space for ourselves or our childhood selves, like, is
Yeah.
we're doing that by
Yeah.
just being, which is good.
And
Like,
like we're
because
not fucking going anywhere either. So
yeah,
like we're
we're
here to
only
stay.
going to get stronger. And I think that's like turning. I think there's a lot of that's shifting and turning, even within like the creator space. Like I said, I'm in this like entrepreneur space. Same thing. I mean, all of the social media coaches are cute white girls that are just like have so many followers on all these platforms just because I don't know why people like think that they're more, yeah, I mean, I do know why, but
We know
so
why.
it's like, it's really awesome to be able to see when you see the one person and like I see them popping up more and more, that there's more
Yeah.
people out there that are like, no, like I'm just going to be who I am. And we're all connecting with each other. And I think the sense of community that we're all building together is really, really strong. So it's only a matter of time till like the coin flips and it's more evenly dispersed, but we're all doing the fucking work now to make that happen, you know?
Yeah. And being like not quiet about it either, I think. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to be vocal about our stance on things, not because we don't feel strongly about it, but because we're maybe not in a space and like historically have not been in a space where people want to fucking listen to us. Or,
Totally.
like you're I mean, you say something and the probability of someone fighting you on that is highly likely. And
Totally.
then you have to deal with that. And that's like it's worth the fight, I feel.
Yeah.
But it's
It's
like it's
exhausting too, but like,
exhausting.
yeah, it's like that, like we, half my family's white, but like that's the lens that I have is like this like Japanese American perspective, but because I look the way that I look, like I've never been able to have the credibility of like the white experience,
Mm.
which is fine because I'm really proud of like all pieces of who I am. And that took a really fucking long time to get here. But like my in-laws are all white, and so that has been a really hard situation too over the last several years of being that person who's constantly defiant in that way. Like it's gotten to the point where, I mean, we're all in a good place now. And like, it's kind of known that I'm going to say some shit, but like now my husband backs me up too. Like that makes such a difference because coming from his mouth is received differently. It sounds
Right.
differently. And then coming from my mouth, it's not, finally, I'm not just that girl, who's making things uncomfortable. But
Right.
it's not even that. It's like I'm carrying the fucking burden all the fucking time. And so
Yeah.
now that burden has been distributed in different ways. Like, like I said, my husband being a little bit more like able to speak on some of those things, which has also taken fucking several years.
Yeah. Shout out to having white partners. That's a
Yeah.
interesting thing to navigate. It's different. It's different, like not being able to exactly share the same cultural anything really. Um, Even like small stuff. Like I have a real problem when people say that something's weird about a different culture, like
Mm-hmm.
food. Like, oh, that's weird. Like, no, it's not weird because just because you don't know what it is or because you don't understand it because you've never heard about it before, it does not make it weird. Like
Yeah.
small stuff like that. And it's easy to be seen as the person who's just trying to be disruptive or just trying to say something because you want to say something. I'm like, no, that's not the case.
Yeah.
If I don't say anything, who else is going to say anything? Especially when you're in a space that is not, predominantly of color. Nobody's going to say anything. So then it's left to you, and it's not even like it's not a conscious thing most of the time. It's just like a reaction. Just like with so many people, it's like I'm gonna be forward about how I feel about things, and if you say something fucked up, I'm gonna tell you and I'm gonna correct you. But it's like we're also not responsible for teaching everybody everything and for laying
Yeah.
down all of our, our life and our instances and everything. Like that's not our responsibility. That's a whole nother burden on top of what we're dealing with just feeling. I mean, you've known me for a long time. I have a bit of a temper. So like I mean, not so much anymore. I've mellowed out a lot, but where I'm just like fucking mad, like because
Yeah.
people aren't listening.
I think like having the burden of having to educate people, but then also carrying this weight of like emotional exhaustion from proving how you feel all the time is also like, it's like two sides of just pure exhaustion.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of navigating. It's a lot of
Yeah.
navigating. That's why, like, I at least once a day I do something like involving plants, like this herbalism thing that I'm taking up. Like at least once a day, that makes me
Yeah.
feel kind of okay. I got this giant bag of garlic from Costco, and I was like, cool. I'm gonna see how many things I can do with this giant bag of garlic. So like, I dehydrated it to make my own garlic powder. I froze it to add to cooking. I made fermented honey garlic. Um, just a bunch
Have
of
you
stuff.
made a video about that? Did you document this
No,
process?
I didn't, but I got another bag with the
Okay,
intention
good.
of doing so.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
send you some TikToks.
cool. Yeah, you've definitely like turned me. I think that now I have a different inspiration and like view of
Yeah.
what TikTok actually is. It's not just like little girls dancing. Like
It's not,
it was
yeah.
weird. I was like, I don't want to. No, it sounds weird, but
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I've had the best time as always, like just
yeah,
shooting the shit with you. I
yeah,
love that we always go there. Like we always just like steer it in this direction of like, and it just makes me feel good because I feel validated and I'm sure you feel the
yeah.
same. Just to like one last thing, is there like a small business you'd like to shout out or like a favorite follow on, social media
Well,
right
like
now?
obviously, I can't not shout out my mom, small business, or else she would
I
have
love
my
it.
head. Um, 24 to Beauty, obviously. I've actually
She
had
is,
a
oh,
lot
go
of
ahead.
I've had a lot of people be like, because I posted a picture of her on her 60th, and I was like, look,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
she's 60. And people were like, no, she's not. And I was like, actually, I mean, she is, but she's like she's an esthetician. So if you really want to know about what she does, like here, go look at her
Yeah, she
website.
knows all the tricks.
Yeah,
Was my esthetician for the longest time, but now I moved and I miss her so much, but I still buy all her stuff. Like
yeah.
her my entire skincare like regimen is mostly, I want to say like 80% her products.
I
So
mean, she knows what she's doing, and like
she really
I would
does.
just love. I'm just waiting for her to get that one like explosion, and then get all the attention that she had deserved and has been working for. It would be fucking cool.
Thank you so much for being here. I
Yeah,
love you so much
I love
and I had
you.
the best time.
Yeah, let's
We'll have to do this again
yes,
soon.
let's do it again.